So Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker has come out about 3 weeks ago now, and you're probably wondering, well, Tristan, why are you talking about it now? And to answer that, I don't know. But let's talk about it anyway. So this is my full discussion and review of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. I'm going to be delving into deep spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen the movie and you care about spoilers, then please don't watch this. Or please do watch this. I don't really care what you do with your life. It's your life. Do what you want to do. But I'm going to give you my review, my thoughts on Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker a month later, basically. Who cares? Roll the intro. So Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker was directed by JJ Abrams and it is the 9th and final installment in the core saga of Star Wars film known as the Skywalker saga. If you've been following my channel, you know that I did a Star Wars marathon with the Skywalker saga, kind of prepping me and hyping me up for The Rise of Skywalker, the last installment to the Star Wars saga as a whole. And now looking back on it, I can see that entire time was a waste. Here, let me explain. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is a mess. And this is coming from somebody who loved The Force Awakens and really liked The Last Jedi, as you can tell by the poster over here. I was really into the new sequel trilogy of movies. I was really into what they were bringing. I loved Rogue One. I enjoyed Solo, A Star Wars Story, way more than I thought I was going to. So, needless to say, I was very pumped for The Rise of Skywalker. I was really into the trailers. I thought the trailers did an okay job. So, I was pretty pumped. I'm not gonna lie. Now, just to let you know right off the bat, I am not one of those kind of guys that goes into a movie expecting them to do what I want them to do what I have preconceived in my mind what they should do as filmmakers. It's not my right to do that. They're the filmmakers. They're the ones making the movie. They tell the story that they want to tell. That being said, I went into this movie with certain expectations. I know, I'm a hypocrite. But it was kind of hard to go into this one not having preconceived notions of what this film should be. Now, one thing that I know is that I am a die-hard Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars. The original trilogy is where it's at. The prequels I have a newfound respect for. I never truly hated the prequels, but I always had a respect for them. And I was one of those guys that really liked the new Disney movies and what they were doing. I know that I'm probably in the minority in that, but I was really enjoying, and I would actually defend The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. And after watching this movie, I can't do that anymore. Storylines that was set up kind of went nowhere. Things were retconned that didn't need to be retconned. It was interesting, and I'll get into the specifics. First and foremost, I was never down for the idea that Palpatine should have been in this movie to begin with. I had always had the feeling that Kylo Ren should have been the big bad guy of this trilogy. He was obviously being prepped to be the Darth Vader of this trilogy, and I thought it only made sense that he would be the big bad guy of the last film. Now, I'm not saying that Kylo Ren couldn't have a redemption of some sort, as long as it was executed in a way that made me feel satisfied with it. But for them to bring an entirely different villain basically out of nowhere, and it was never set up, never talked about, it felt odd. And throughout the entire movie, I never lost that feeling of Palpatine shouldn't be in this movie. To me personally, that completely undermines what Darth Vader did in Return of the Jedi when he sacrifices himself, killing the Emperor to save his son. Now, if this is supposed to be how everything ends and Palpatine never died when he was supposed to, I look at Return of the Jedi now and I know, well, what was the sacrifice for? He's just gonna come back in 30 years, 30-something odd years anyway. I was one of those people that felt that Kylo Ren shouldn't have been redeemed. He shouldn't have had a redemption arc. It was going to be the tragedy of Kylo Ren, of Ben Solo. He had had multiple chances throughout both the films to redeem himself, and every chance he got, he would just throw it away, really making the choice that he is of the dark side, and he doesn't want anything else. So for another big bad guy to come out of nowhere, he was the puppet master, he was the one pulling the strings all along, haha. It just screams that I needed someone to come back so I can make Kylo Ren a good guy in the end. I'm not saying that Kylo Ren couldn't have been redeemed in some sort of way. To me, pulling a different kind of villain and then saying he was the one who was behind the whole thing, the entire trilogy, when there's no evidence of that throughout the previous two movies, it's sort of a cop-out. let's talk about the story of this movie. The first act of this movie is kind of messy. They're jumping from one place to another to get this one thing, to get this other thing, and they're jumping from planet to planet to planet, trying to get these multiple MacGuffins to find a way to get to Palpatine. And though that kind of worked in The Force Awakens, where someone had the map to Luke Skywalker, I don't think it really works in this movie. The plot does eventually gain a footing, and when it does happen. It does go, and it goes pretty well, actually. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy what I was watching on the film. The action's great. The movie looks beautiful. For this movie, that can only take you so far. People want answers, and people want satisfying answers. I wanted satisfying answers, at least. I was never one to say, oh, who are Rey's parents? Because to me, it was always obvious that she was from nowhere. She was no one. She was somebody like Luke Skywalker, or I should rather say like Anakin Skywalker, who came from nothing. He was a nobody and became one of the biggest somebodies in the entire galaxy. That's the whole point of The Last Jedi. That was the whole point of Bryan Johnson's movie. And of course, I'm talking about the reveal that Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter. First and foremost, I just want to say I have no idea why anybody would want to get down with this guy, let alone have a child with him. But yes, it is revealed that Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter, and that her parents, yes, were nobody, but that's because they chose to be. That was one of the frustrating things that this movie did to certain storylines. It was sort of retcon things that didn't need to be retconned. Turns out Snoke was a clone the entire time and Palpatine was cloning him. Makes sense for him kind of coming out of nowhere and being so powerful, right? Turns out that Palpatine was the one talking to Kylo Ren the entire time. Kylo Ren was talking to Darth Vader's mask. But yeah, I'm kind of going off on a tangent. Let's get back to Rey being a Palpatine. Rey is the granddaughter of one of the most evil guys that has ever lived in the entire galaxy's history. It was basically this movie's way of saying, we know that she's all-powerful, and we don't really know how to explain it, so we're just gonna say she's related to one of the most powerful beings in the entire galaxy. I didn't know what to think. I sat there, and I wanted to be satisfied with it, but I knew deep down I wasn't. And that really hurts. Listen, I just want to say I'm not hating on these new movies. I'm not the type of guy that's going to go on Reddit and say, this sucks. No, I'm not that type of guy. This is just my opinion, my feelings on the film itself. If you have a different opinion on this movie, please have a different opinion. That's the joy of loving films. It's all subjective. There's people out here who freaking love this movie. I'm not one of those people. And that's where I'll end with that. Let's talk about Finn for a moment. Finn has one of the most interesting story origins out of all the characters in the new sequel trilogy. He was a stormtrooper that defected after seeing the carnage and chaos his army has brought upon innocent lives. He decides to defect from that and become part of the Resistance. That's an awesome storyline. That's something we haven't seen before in Star Wars. That was new, it was fresh. This film doesn't really satisfy that conclusion. So Finn meets other stormtroopers that defected from the First Order to fight the First Order. Okay, and maybe he's Force sensitive? Probably, most likely, but it doesn't really hint any more than that. Let's talk about Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren is arguably the best thing to come out of this sequel trilogy. Adam Driver's portrayal, his presence, the things he does, the actions he takes, his story, his backstory. Of course, JJ being JJ, he had to give Kylo Ren a redemption story, and it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not bad. I didn't mind it at all. I knew going into the film that Kylo Ren was probably going to be redeemed in some way. He was probably going to die, and that's exactly what happens in this film. In a film, it doesn't matter what you're doing on the film, it's how you're executing it, right? I mean, seriously, I just watched an animated movie on Netflix about a severed hand that's trying to find his lost body, and it was glorious. Kylo Ren being redeemed isn't a bad choice, not at all. I mean, it's JJ's choice. If that's what he wants to do, let him do it. To me, it wasn't the logical conclusion to Kylo Ren's arc. But emotion over logic, because that's what movies are about, redemption has to happen. And the way it happens is that Rey freaking kills Kylo Ren. The way it happens is that his mother Leia uses the Force to communicate with her son. Kylo Ren thought that Leia, his mom, was dead this entire time, and for him to find out that she was actually alive, I think justifies him turning, I guess. But nah, Rey stabs him, basically kills him, immediate regret, heals him to save his life. Oh yeah, Rey has force heal. Force heal is a thing in this movie, I totally forgot. But Rey force heals him, and Kylo Ren, after that, kind of has like this existential crisis. And I thought to myself, oh, this is where it is. He's gonna turn good because of this. But nah, JJ had to add in a little more pepper into that by putting in Han Solo. I had no idea Harrison Ford was gonna be in this movie. Kylo Ren sees his father, Han Solo, and they have an exchange together. And it's basically like, son, I forgive you kind of moment. And to me, actually, that was one of the best moments in the entire film for me, personally. Because I guess if Han Solo can forgive his son, we can forgive his son as well. That was one of the only points of closure in this film. Now, let's get to the end. Kylo Ren, or Ben Solo at this point, teams up with Rey to take on Palpatine, but not really. Palpatine for this entire movie has been sort of like this decrepit, old corpse of a body attached to like this robot, almost like this zombie-like corpse, you know? Turns out he could suck the life force out of people. Who knew? And he sucks the life force out of Rey and Ben, making him young again, or younger, I guess. And I'm not gonna lie, for him to shoot lightning up into the sky, basically knocking out the entire Resistance fleet, falling from the sky, was freaking nuts, man. I loved that. But then, like in 2 seconds, Palpatine chucks Kylo Ren into a crevice, and Rey takes on Palpatine and defeats him all alone. I had always imagined that it would be Kylo Ren and Rey taking on Palpatine, but I guess not. I guess she just didn't need him, I guess. I'm basically just summarizing the movie at this point. That's not what I'm making this video to do. I'm here to talk about my opinion on it. And The Rise of Skywalker, though there's a lot to be enjoyed in it, to me, it didn't come to a satisfying conclusion for me personally. There were a lot of things that were answered that I didn't need answered. There was a lot of things that I needed answered that were left unanswered. There were things in this movie that just sort of happened to happen, and there were really no consequences for them. Such as Chewbacca dying for like 2 seconds. Okay. Rey dying for like 3 seconds. Okay. Oh my god, I gotta talk about this. So after Rey's battle with Palpatine, after she defeats him, Rey dies. Long story short, Ben Solo comes back out of the crevice that he was shocked in, and he uses his force heal to bring Rey back to life, and they kiss. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't mind it. I didn't need it. I had never really thought that they were really romantic. There was obviously a connection between Kylo Ren and Rey. You could argue a romantic one, I guess. But yeah, they share a kiss, and Kylo Ren dies. Because if you're gonna be redeemed in a Star Wars movie, you have to die. In the end, Rey takes up the name of Skywalker, which is why it's called The Rise of Skywalker. Okay, sure. Her yellow lightsaber is pretty cool. Or orange. Yellow-orange, I guess. But yeah, those are my overall impressions of The Rise of Skywalker. Overall, it was enjoyable at points. To me, it wasn't a satisfying conclusion to the sequel trilogy, let alone the entire saga of Star Wars films going back to 40 years ago. Listen, if you enjoyed this movie, if you loved this movie, please love the movie, enjoy it. Don't let my opinion stop you, please. I'm just one guy talking on the internet to people. Yeah, we're all film fans here. Jeez, I'm like really sweating, really passionate. Hope you enjoyed listening to my rant, I guess. If there's anything that I left out or something that you wanted to hear that I didn't get to in this video, or maybe I just forgot, please let me know in the comment section below. Remember to subscribe, and as always guys, you take it easy.